Vandy bolsters their staff with a veteran offensive line coach. Here we go.
You are Locked On Vandy, your daily podcast on the Vanderbilt Commodores, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Corey Burton. Thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube as a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Show's brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. That's why LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team. And they can do it faster and for free. So post your job at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Terms and conditions apply. So Vanderbilt and Clark Lee continue to build on offense by adding another veteran coach. That veteran coach is Chris Klenakis. I think I said that right. Klenakis. He is so why is this good? So like I said, they continue to build their offensive staff. They add a veteran coach. This is a good thing. This is a great thing. Why? Because A, he has offensive coordinator experience at Nevada, Arkansas, and Louisville, and most recently Kennesaw State. He has worked with tons of phenomenal quarterbacks, the most notable Lamar Jackson, the year he won the Heisman, and Colin Kaepernick when he was at Nevada. We all know, despite all the negative stuff about Colin Kaepernick right now, he was phenomenal in college, and he was part of that. So he really came up through the pistol scheme, but he's also, I think what makes him valuable here is he's done a great job of not only developing quarterbacks as an offensive coordinator through his scheme, but also his work as an offensive line coach, which is what he's coming to Vanderbilt to do. And I think his experience in these were non-conventional offenses. Let's just call it what it is: non-conventional offenses. You had the things they were doing with Lamar Jackson was kind of on the forefront of, hey, this is the new age quarterback. Lamar Jackson kind of broke the mold of what a quarterback should be. He's continuing to do so in the NFL. Probably the best quarterback in the NFL, if I had to say so. But he has mostly pistol-based stuff. I mean, he's used to kind of working in these, like, I don't want to call it unconventional offenses or different offenses, unique offenses, or whatever buzzword you want to use to kind of disparage what this offense is or will be. It's an offense that is just kind of multiple. It's just kind of a blend of what other schemes, the best of what other schemes have to offer. And it's really, and Coach and Kurt Page said this yesterday. I'm so used to calling him Coach Page, but he said this yesterday, like playing to the strengths of your personnel. So like doing what your personnel is good at. Right, you have a guy, Nate Johnson, who is going to be great in the +1 run game. He can throw quick game. He can read out RPOs. He can operate out of the pistol or the sidecar. He can even operate out of under center if need be. So again, for that and his experience and wisdom and knowledge he can impart with Tim Beck and staff in that regard, I think is incredible. Coming from the perspective of the offensive line coach is probably the most pivotal point of view that you could have when you're game planning and putting together offense, because the group that is going to affect the most outside of obviously the quarterback is the offensive line. And you need a veteran guy because this is going to take a little bit of work. Now, AJ Blazek was really good. I've heard a lot of great things about him, and wish him well at Wisconsin. He'll do really, really well with Luke Fickell and be in a good situation there. But what this offensive line needs, because it's going to be a lot of inexperienced guys, transfer portal guys, and maybe look to add some others as we go. But it's going to be kind of a test to find the best 5. Or even the best 7 or 8, because you'll want some rotational guys in there too. But Just kind of find the right mix there. Find the schemes that work perfectly for that group, and marry those up to what Nate Johnson does well, presuming he's the quarterback, and kind of how the other pieces kind of gel into that. But the offensive line is something that needs to be shored up first when you're looking at scheme. How does it affect them? What are they good at? Like if you have a really good wide zone, inside zone duo team, like is gap schemes really beneficial, and vice versa? Like what are your strengths? And what these unconventional offenses do is actually just take strengths into consideration. Like Lamar Jackson was never, and currently is not a pocket passer. Like he can survive from the pocket. But that's not, you're not going to sit him in the pocket like they did Brady, right? You're not going to do those things with Lamar Jackson. They didn't do those things with Lamar Jackson at Louisville. They're not doing those things with Lamar Jackson in Baltimore. Like guys in the NFL that try to do that oftentimes fail. Square peg round holes while Luke Getsy's out in Chicago. These NFL coaches just think, hey, we're the NFL. Our scheme is king. We're going to just fit you right in and do what we do, and you're going to assimilate, or we're going to cut you and find somebody else, which is absolutely not true, because you may end up being like the Bears and drafting a guy like Justin Fields who has his particular skill set. He's not a sit in the pocket and read out a 5 progression drop back concept type of quarterback. He's just not. And a lot of college quarterbacks aren't that either. Those are probably more rare than the guys who are. Like the guys who are those type of readers are rare. Like Aiden O'Connell is probably the closest thing you got to a 5 progression reader, pocket guy. And he's a starting quarterback for the Raiders, and I don't know if he will be next season, but he's that. Sam Howell is probably the next closest to being that true pocket passer, but even then, he's got a little bit of athleticism. He's got a little bit of wiggle, but he's not. Obviously, they're not running him as a running quarterback. But you just got to kind of take into consideration what you have. And with Chris Klenakis, I gotta work on saying his name, Chris Klenakis. I'm just not comfortable saying his name yet, but. Chris Klenakis. Okay, there you go. There's my practice. But anyway, but between Tim Beck, Chris Klenakis, and the rest of the offensive staff, which we're going to talk about another guy that's going to be kind of sort of in the mix, but he's going to be more focused on special teams probably. But it's going to be an interesting journey, and I think if you get some guys that have another reason it's good is his perspective, right? And his perspective is really good and vast. He's been in a lot of different places in a lot of different situations. I mean, you look at his resume, it's like he's been all over the freaking place, and not for, sometimes not for good reasons, but he's most recently he's been at Kennesaw State. You want to talk about a unconventional offense. They're kind of they kind of turned into a needs-based offense because they were getting further and further away from the true Paul Johnson system. And then they were starting to find guys that fit into kind of exactly what Tim Beck was looking for as an offensive line coach and scheme-wise. They were kind of looking in that same regard. So this is, as far as skills and stuff, that pans out. The concern obviously is, the reports out there that back in 2018, he got busted for DUI and he had, beer cans in his car and all that stuff. So you see that and you immediately question his judgment. But he made a mistake. He has since recovered from that. And I think he's got another shot at a Power 5 job here. And he's coming in as an offensive line coach. And, you hope that, you hope that that stuff is behind him, but it's always going to be in the back of your mind. Okay, what's going on here? Like these guys, sometimes these guys come with baggage, and that's got to be talked about. It's got to be mentioned. Okay, it wouldn't be fair of me to not mention it, to give you all the sunshine and none of the shadows. But that's probably the dark shadow there sitting over Chris Klenakis. And but as far as being an offensive line coach and developing offensive linemen, I mean, he's as good as anybody. I mean, the fundamentals, the way he teaches things, progressions, and all that stuff. I'm gonna, over the next few weeks, kind of look at some of, try to find some of his. Hopefully, they've published, coaches publish things, drill tapes and things. And YouTube is a vast resource. And so I'm going to take a look at it and see just kind of where he is on that. But I'm excited about it. I think adding a veteran guy, Clark Lee, again, seek to understand. Kurt Page was said it yesterday. He comes in, he's learning. Well, now the learning's got to be over. Now he's got to put his learning in motion. 3 years is probably a little too long to be in the learning phase, but he's definitely putting some things in motion. I think some things are clicking in Clark Lee's mind. As head coach, I think he's making a lot of the right moves right now and hiring veteran guys, and he's not afraid to bring in veteran presence. And, his hiring this time around versus the last time he was hiring people is remarkably better. And what's surprising about it is the situation is a lot worse. You're coming off a 2-10 season, seemingly on the hot seat, no matter – if you go 2-10 again next year, you're probably gone, even though the support is there. The alumni, in talking with Kurt last night, it's just the support is still there. They still, they want, people I think want Clark Lee to do well. They just don't have a ton of faith in him right now, and rightfully so, coming off 2-10. But it's there. The moves are there. The things are there. The things are set. They're adding pieces. They're doing things intentionally to bring about change, and that's all you look for. And if it works out, great. If it doesn't, then you figure out what needs to happen, what the next move needs to be, and you make the next move. And that's on the AD. And if the AD can't make that move, then maybe we need to make a move on the AD. That same decision is going to have to come down about basketball here pretty soon. Unfortunately for Candace Story-Lee, that she's got to make that tough call, which it's inevitably looking that way. So, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But welcome, Chris Klenakis. I promise I'll get better at saying that. But welcome, Chris Klenakis, new offensive line coach. Let's get it anchored down. When we come back, we're going to talk about changes in the special teams, in the kicking game. More changes, which sometimes change is good coming off 2-10. So we'll talk about that coming up next. All right, welcome back. We are presented by LinkedIn Jobs. That's right. At the start of the new year, every small business owner is asking themselves the same question. What's the one move I can make that'll take my business to the next level in 2024? Well, LinkedIn Jobs knows that your success depends on the team you surround yourself with. That's why LinkedIn Jobs has created the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. So, LinkedIn isn't just another job board. LinkedIn has a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, which makes it the best place to hire. Hiring is easy when you have that many quality candidates. So easy that, in fact, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. That's pretty good. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs number 1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn also knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and it might not have the time or resources to hire. Thankfully, with LinkedIn, the process is intuitive, quick, and easy. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right, welcome back. It is segment number 2. Man, this show's flying by. So a lot of change in the Vanderbilt program. and we'll get to that here in just a second, but I want to make sure I mention, thank you for making us your first listen. Make sure you make Locked On SEC your second listen. And I keep pumping them up because it's just such a great show. Because as a conference, as a member of this conference, we want to be very knowledgeable in the happenings of this conference. And Chris Gordy and crew do a phenomenal job at making sure we are knowledgeable and educated and being the most educated conference in college football. All right, so you can so make sure you check that out. But in the meantime, follow our show at Locked On Vandy on X and Instagram. And I want to thank the everydayers for making all of this possible. Scotty Derrick is an everydayer. Kurt Page is an everydayer. And without you guys and the vast number of others, and if you are an everydayer, make sure you leave a comment and say, hey, I am an everydayer. I'm in the club. Make sure you mention me. I don't want to get in trouble for leaving people out. So make sure I get you mentioned. Okay. My goal is to get to 1,000 subscribers. If we can get to 1,000 subscribers, there might be some bigger and better things on the horizon as far as what we can do with this show and how we can make sure that Vanderbilt is a well-loved college football community. So that being said, lots of change. Well, there's been a lot of change. In making this show happen is one of the big changes that Locked On said, hey, we need to have the entire SEC represented. I stepped in, Nashville native, got a soft spot for Vanderbilt. Followed the program, had some kids play there that I coached. Father Ryan, Jawan Williams being the most notable, Andrew Rector being the other most notable. But obviously Jawan got drafted by the New England Patriots. So there you go. Change, man. That's the theme of today's show, change. Okay, if I had to describe this show in one word, it would be change, right? New offensive line coach Chris Klenakis. All right, so these names are killing me tonight. Justin Lustig is out. He's going to Penn State. And he's going to take over their special teams and join James Franklin's staff. And Jeff LePak, the special teams analyst, or was the special teams analyst, will take over Lustig's role on staff. And what makes that important is that, you're obviously your kickers and punters and long snappers, they're going to work with specialists, right, to perfect their craft of kicking. So a special teams coach is not going to necessarily make a great kicker. He may facilitate some things, but ultimately they're not going to make the kicker who the kicker is. Now, as far as the coverage units, the protection units, things like that, that's where you have to have a good special teams guy. And it's such an important position. And people often overlook it because, it's just the kicking game. What could possibly happen in the kicking game? Well, why don't you ask Tyler Simmons, who was offsides and blocked a kick, got called back, right? Drew up a phenomenal block and didn't get it, right? How do you think Dan Campbell with the Detroit Lions, how do you think he values special teams? He values it greatly. He takes time, puts in fakes, things like that, and executes, right? Does a great job at that, right? Special teams can make or break games, is the point. I'm not trying to call out anybody negatively or positively, but they make great games, and they make things interesting. They can turn the momentum of a game just like that. So if you have a good special teams guy, they can either, again, not everything's going to be perfect, right? You're at some point as a special teams coordinator, you're going to have a kick blocked. You're going to have a return returned on you. You're going to have things happen in the kicking game. The other team also has a special teams coordinator as well. They may do a great job of, sending guys through a particular gap. They might do a great job of whatever. There's all kind of things that happen. But if you have a good guy in place, your special teams is going to be pretty daggum good for the most part. And it's going to make it it's going to make a difference with special teams. You're going to have throughout the course of the season, you're going to have one game be decided positively, one game decided negatively in special teams. And so I think it's important to have somebody that has, he was, I don't say understudy, but like he was the analyst, he was the off-field guy for probably one of the better units in the program. And Justin Lustig did a phenomenal job coordinating the special teams, and he had a big-time assist from Jeff LePak. And I think that's why Jeff LePak is sitting in this position, because of the assist that he provided, the analytical work, the scheme draw-ups, the advanced scouting, the understanding of special teams trends, how different teams have different tendencies, all of that stuff was well scouted by Jeff LePak and well put together. And oftentimes probably they were able to get great looks at practice because of it. And that's vastly important, right? That's vastly important. So special teams is key. And Jeff LePak, I think, taking that over will be great. So change, man. This is where it comes. Special teams is great, man. And it's going to continue to be good. And I think that Jeff LePak is going to get his baptism by fire. Now, again, you're taking a risk by hiring an analyst and bringing him up. You're taking a risk there, right? But who knows? And that may not be a permanent thing. That may just be an interim thing. I don't know. I'll keep you more updated when they kind of just make an official announcement of who's taking that spot. But as of right now, it looks like it's going to be Jeff LePak. Wouldn't shock me if they stuck with that move and just rolled with it, because maybe he's worthy. There's a lot of things that happen behind the scenes with analysts that you just wonder. So good special teams is very, very important. It's a third of the game. So there you go. Now, when we come back, we are going to discuss the premium seating. They just launched another rendering of what to expect at Vanderbilt. So stay tuned for that. All right. We are also presented by FanDuel. The NFL playoffs are in full swing, so there's still time to get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. It is a divisional round, so you still have plenty to bet on. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. The app is so easy to use. There are so many different ways to bet, like live same-game parlays. You can find bets in the new Explore tab. You can make a parlay in the Parlay Hub, which is the best way to find popular parlays, and much, much more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make your first bet a layup. FanDuel is the official partner of the NFL. All right, welcome in. Let's wrap up the show. We got a few minutes to do so. We talked offensive line and Chris Klenakis. We talked about Jeff LePak possibly taking over the special teams if that's the case. Which, if that's the permanent case, that would be great. Special teams is important, but last thing is kind of the support system that Vandy United is providing. I think you're starting to see an athletic department or a university that's finally starting to realize that maybe we should start to pay attention to athletics a little bit. And with this Vandy United collective, and this, I don't know a ton about it right now, but it seems to be moving all in the right direction. They seem to be with this new athlete village. They seem to kind of get it a little bit, making the experience for not only the fans and the alumni, but the current student athletes a positive one. And if they can do that, they will get the buy-in, and they will start to kind of become a first-class athletic department that recruits want to come to, high school kids want to come to, people want to transfer into, and obviously the NIL stuff goes a long way. But looking at these premium seats, and I can't show you this video. I really want to. I really, really want to. And Vandy, if you give me permission to use some of your videos, that would be great. So looking at the premium seating, the new North End Zone and South End Zone projects for the stadium in particular, they went through and they didn't just do the overview. They didn't just release images. They had one of those, standard architect rendering videos. It was like was it? No, it was like 4 and some change long. So it went through and showed every inch of the north end zone and south end zone facilities, kind of what the seats would look like, the different types of seating, the different types of fan experiences that you can have in those facilities and things like that. I think there was student athlete dining on both sides. There was a basketball operations center in the north end zone. There was all kind of stuff that I think would make the viewing experience really, really good. The field level boxes, the living room suites were great, man. They had those recliners with the cup holders, that you just envy when you go into a furniture store and you're like, I got to buy that, right? That's what they have. That's what they're going to have in the stadium. The suites are really nice. The areas, the hospitality areas, the fan experience areas, like the Commodore Club and all that kind of stuff. Just first class, man. And if it looks anything like the rendering, it's going to be nothing short of phenomenal. And I think that's probably the best thing to happen to the university. And I think the fan experience is going to benefit from that. Now, I say that to say that I'm impressed with it, obviously. And anytime you see a rendering, you always, those renderings are designed to make you ooh and ah a little bit. And they did. It worked. It did work. But here's the thing. Here's the thing I'm worried about. Here's the concern that I have. The pricing. Like, if Vanderbilt wants to make this a true, home field experience and not just sell out to corporate and with those tickets that are going to end up being in the hands of Texas fans, LSU fans, Auburn fans, or whatever fans are coming to Vanderbilt, it's going to end up in their hands if you're not careful. And the pricing, I think, needs to reflect that. It doesn't need to be cheap seats, but it is premium seating, but is it premium seating or is it premium seating? And by premium seating, I mean like it's too expensive for the fans, and it's just going to go all corporate, which would be a drag. And I think there needs to be options. I think there needs to be affordable things for fans to be able to come in, like the living room suites. Like you need to make those like actually reasonable enough to where, a fan, like I don't know how to describe it, but like not a filthy rich, like I've got 6 Ferraris in the driveway fan can only afford these seats. Like, you need to have those available to people who, you don't need to price people out because you're coming off of 2-10 seasons. So it's going to be tough to sell extremely expensive seats. People are going to be like, I'm not buying that until the team shows me something. Right. But if it's an experience that's affordable, and by affordable, reasonable enough to be still premium, but also not gouging the prices out to where, the only people that can buy those are corporations. And, they're just used for stuffy corporation events. And they're like, oh, we have a contingent of Texas fans. We're going to welcome them to the game. So you look over in the south end zone, it's all burnt orange. Like, that's not good. But, that's the only thing that concerns me. Make the prices good, but the facilities are top notch. And it just shows another level of support. Like, hey, we're going to make Vandy a unique place. And that they've accomplished that. They've made Vandy a unique place. So, it's good. It's good. And I'm really excited about the new seats. I'm really kind of excited about how things are going there. And, it's going to be, I said it in the first episode that I talked about it. I'll say it again now that I've seen inside. Even better than I expected. And the field level seats, I think, are going to be the coolest seats, like the ones right on the bottom of the end zone, because like I think they're trying to do the same field level suites that a lot of the pro teams are doing, where you have the seats that are right on the field, but then you could just dip into the suite there behind you and like go to the open bar or like grab you some chicken wings off the food line or whatever. Like, you don't have to go to concessions or anything. So that'll be good. And hopefully some of the other stuff they're doing with the concourses and widening those out and the actual existing stadium that they didn't tear down, like they need to improve some of that too. So looking forward to kind of seeing how this turns out in the long run. And I'm, again, lots of changes for Vanderbilt, but that's a good thing. And, welcome to the new coaches. We're going to get this scheme going. Spring practice starts fairly soon. I think Vandy's usually on the early side of the spring practice window. So we'll get into that coverage and looking forward to kind of seeing how these guys gel in the new system and just kind of check it out. I'm going to try to make it to a practice if Barton will return a call. But anyway, that's going to do it for us here at the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. I want to thank all of my everydayers and welcome back to my scroll here. Follow the show at Locked On Vandy on X and IG. Thank you to my everydayers. As always, you guys make this completely possible, and I love you guys for that. So I'm going to let you go there, but I hope you have a great Wednesday. If you're in Nashville, hope you're battling the snow and not going too stir crazy. If it's snowing where you are, same message. If it's not, I'm jealous. So anyway, Locked On Vandy. I'm Corey Burton. Anchor down. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Goodbye.